you know your way parking around here, by the way?
I parked in the garage.
What, like, did you have an app for your phone or something?
I've got the Park Pensacola app on my
See.
phone. I just entered in and it wasn't anything for the entrance. I guess when I go out, I have to deal with it.
Well, I just, like all my, I've only come down here, you know, maybe once every 3 years I come down to Pensacola. And I've always parked on Bayfront Park, where it was free, you know? I mean, I never, because I didn't want to go
I was
back.
first pulling into a spot that's near where the garage entrance is, and it didn't have a meter or anything, one of those free spots. But then I saw someone come right by me and go into the garage and didn't have. I was like, well, I'd like to be in the shade. So I
Right.
just followed him in. And
Well,
I parked just right off of you. It's sort of like on the first floor.
I'm too stressed just from talking. I got here early.
I'm not.
No, you're
Relaxing.
helping actually. But yeah, I didn't want to be like I took the day
The
before.
first time I got the parking app was I had my Gulf Breeze High School class of '82 reunion last October, and the first event was downtown, and it was right where the parking was, all of it was paid parking. So when I got there very early, my wife and I, and noticed that, and I just downloaded the app and I've only used it that one time, and I think it cost. We were just there for like the last hour we were there was the only paid time. Then after that it was free. So I only paid like I don't even know if it was a full dollar. But I got the app just so when
It's just too much for me. Like another thing is I don't really know the streets and where the buildings are.
I'm not very familiar with all the things.
So like
Gulf Breeze in Pensacola Beach, I
Yeah.
could go blindfolded and know
Right.
my way around.
Well, I don't want to be hunting for a garage, you know, like you know.
Well, you were smart to come very early. So
Yeah.
I guess you took time off from work.
I took the day off. Yeah.
You're a helicopter pilot instructor, right?
I now just teach yeah, and then now it's not the helicopter.
You were flying this big transport.
Yeah. That was a different lifetime ago, but yes, yeah, I did.
Twin rotors. Would you lift a lot of cargo or
That was
personnel?
you know, there's two big military helicopters that have the two rotor systems. I actually flew the smaller two. The big one's the 47. It's like in the Army. The Chinook. I was in the Sea Knight 46, but we did a lot of external loads. Resupplying ships.
Yeah.
Two ships will kind of get you kind of close to one another, and you go. They have all these pallets, and you go swinging over one of the ships. You get they call it the hellhole, the little, and you know, and the stuff. And a guy with a cargo man would put that. There would be like a long tunnel. It was hooked to, and there would be a crewman inside your helicopter, which would bring it down. You put on it, then you lift it up. And you swing it over the other one.
Josh watched some of those years ago, just doing an inspection on ships.
Virtual
Just doing an audit of the supply. Watching all the operations. Yeah, a lot of time I'd have been inside. I want to get outside and what the interaction is. I feel like here the action is definitely
I went to one BCC meeting one time. Yes, and it didn't work out very well for me. But I've been watching these meetings.
Yeah, I watched ones and saw the treatment when they referred to the ones, those people up Pensacola Beach. It was like, look, I mean, we do got Pensacola Beach working on suddenly become second-class citizens.
Right. We are vilified, no doubt about it.
Citizens in Scandinavian County, why do they have to be put down in a lower caste?
They're esoteric enough. Nobody knows about this $1.1 million. We're making this county is making a fortune on tourism, and these guys are meeting on his own.
Huge
this is 21.8 million. And I think something like 50 million. And I'm confident that we're getting ripped off on that too, in the beach, but I don't even, I got involved in this, and just, this has been enough for me.
I did this similar kind of stuff in South Carolina, back in the 90s. And the issues are similar. Most of the money was generated from tourists from Charleston, South Carolina, beach area.
Sorry, I didn't know where my microphone was. Good afternoon. I'm David Baer. Welcome to the June 15th Tourist Development Council meeting. Before we call the meeting to order, was it properly advertised? Danielle?
Yes, on June 8th.
Great, thank you. And will you please call the roll?
Jeff Bagash,
Here.
James Reeves, Mary Hoxson, Shirley Cronley,
Here.
David Baer,
Here.
Ronald Rivera,
Here.
Matish Patel,
Here.
Tinya Day Burton, and Casey Jones.
All right, well, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, so we do have a quorum. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. So at the beginning of the meeting, we take public comment for the public forum, 3 minutes each per speaker, and I have 2 speaker forms filled out. If there's anyone else that would like to speak besides these 2 that I'm about to call on, please come up to Danielle and fill out a form. The first speaker is Tom Jardine. If you would, please, just introduce yourself.
Tom Jardine, I'm at 1112 Vita Luna on Pensacola Beach. I've lived here for 26 years. I've been watching these meetings for the last year really closely. And strap in, because I have some tough love. I got 3 minutes, okay? I don't like what we're doing with our tourist development tax money. We seem to be putting a disproportionate amount of it into tourism, and we need to start making long-term improvements in this county, okay? I kind of feel like we maybe think that this money belongs to the hoteliers and the RV park people and so forth. It doesn't. It's public money. It belongs to the great citizens of Escambia County. We have sacrificed for that money. If you go to Pensacola Beach, all that prime real estate we sacrificed for the tourism industry. And not all of it was sold at good, at good terms. We just gave away pretty much an 8,500 square foot previously unleased property on Casino Beach. So Innisfree can build a 12-story hotel. We sold it to them for $3 a square foot, and so we're sacrificing our land, our valuable real estate. We're paying, the citizens are paying for all the infrastructure for the tourism. And when you go to the beach, you got traffic, you got crowds. So this money belongs to these great citizens of Escambia County. We need to stop just dumping it all into Visit Pensacola's pot so they can advertise. We need to start using that money, I think, to enhance this county. I know that we want to improve the quality of life on this county and start working on our environment while promoting tourism. I think a good environment and quality of life and infrastructure improvements will bring more tourism to us. Nature centers, so we went to the Florida Auditor General and solicited a recommendation from them. It's the perfect vehicle for us to these nature centers to start putting money into long-term improvements that enhance this county. And ironically, we don't like the Auditor General's recommendation that we solicited. I don't understand that. We sell our environment. What is our environmental record? We had $21.8 million from tourist development taxes. How much of that money has gone into the environment on Pensacola Beach? I don't think anything has. The nature centers, again, is an ideal mechanism to start putting money into our environment. I could tell you firsthand that we are pouring 1 million gallons of effluent into Santa Rosa Sound every day off that beach, 1 million gallons a day. All of our stormwater on Pensacola Beach is going right into the Santa Rosa Sound. We're not diversifying out there. We don't.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. The next speaker on the list is Tom Friesner. I might have mispronounced that last name. Scott Friesner. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Friesner.
I apologize.
No problem. 113 Bay Bridge. I am with Innisfree Hotels. I've been in the hospitality business for over 30 years. First of all, I just want to say, thank you guys and praise you guys for the hard work and effort you guys got to put into all the details of allocating and just what to do with all this money and how to help Escambia grow. I know from what my department does as Director of Revenue for the company, looking across all the competition of all the other markets and all the other counties that we're truly competing against, how tight it is and what it's looking like right now. I know a lot of our markets in Central Florida, now that a lot of the activities of theme parks and cruises are open and no longer any restrictions in that, how that's starting to weigh on us as, beachfront hotels. I mean, that was the easiest after COVID. After COVID, beaches were the easiest to get to, and everybody just flocked to that. There was no restrictions going to a beach, and so that's where we benefited for the years. And now it's crunch time. Now we really got to hunker down as my department looks at trending and tracking opportunities to make a profit with the hotels and with the market and with the county. I just thank you guys for the efforts that you guys are doing in allocating that and really driving that through. Other markets that we have, like Space Coast and Port Canaveral, that we have are growing full open, right? All the cruises and everything. So we're really digging in our heels and really marketing ourselves along with what your efforts that you guys are doing here at the TDC. We appreciate that. That's about it.
Thank you so much. All right. Are there any other public speakers? No? All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is review and approval of the meeting minutes. We have the April 11th, 2023 TDC meeting. Those minutes have been distributed to you guys. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. If you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move that we approve. Second.
Who made the motion?
Me.
Ronnie? And Commissioner Burgash, second. All right. Is there any objection? Showing no objection, please show those approved. Next, we have the May 16th, 2023 TDC Budget Workshop minutes. Those have also been distributed, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to review those. Are there any questions or comments about those?
Move the minutes.
There's a motion from Mr. Rivera. Is there a second?
Second.
And also a second from Mr. Burgash. Is there any objection to them as presented? Seeing none, please show them approved, adopted. All right, thank you. No, I had 2 copies of that. All right, next on the agenda is status of funds available. Is anyone from the clerk's office here? Not, and also Stefan from the County OMB? Please introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Hi, I am James Baker, Senior Budget Analyst with the Budget Office here for Escambia County. Today I will be presenting you with the status of the TDT funds through May of 2023. I believe the Clerk's Office has already provided you with a copy of the breakdown of the expenditures. The numbers that I'll be referencing today will be slightly different, just ever so slightly from what you have. Just the reporting, there's carried over into June just a little bit, and our reporting we run May through May, just to give a more accurate picture of that. So for the FY 2023 collections through the end of May, they total $10,568,476. as compared to the collections through May of 2022, which totaled $10,531,173, which resulted in a collection difference of roughly $37,303 this year over last. The FY23 collections through May totaled $10,568,476, which is 56.36% of your budget for this year, which is, of course, $18,750,000. And the expenses through May 2023 total approximately $9.4 million. Your current cash TTT balance is $22.1 million, and the rolling fund balance is $22.3 million through May of 2023. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the council? All right, thank you. Stefan, do you have any other comments before we move on to the next item?
Nothing of major importance per se. We continue to move some forward with some of those Auditor General requirements. Some of the things that we will be working on are policies and procedures related to the TDT. One of the things that I worked on today was a matrix, if you will, which indicates what penny, which statute, which category, which activity, that in some communication and working with our clerk, that was also identified as part of the Auditor General's report. So we have come up with a draft for that as well. The clerk was pleased with what I did. I haven't provided that to you guys, but it will be part of the presentation of the county's budget to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay,
So.
great. Any questions or comments for Stefan? Not at this time? All right. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the 2024 proposed TDT budget. You have that in your packet. That was, I believe, also sent out to you. The far right column is the proposed budget that we discussed at the workshop. The items that we discussed that were not previously in that proposal have been inserted into the proposal. So this should match what we discussed and agreed to present at this meeting during the workshop. So if are there any questions or comments from the council?
I'd like to make the recommendation that we move this forward.
All right. Is that yes, sir.
I love speaking to the council and the chairman. So I did want to bring to everyone's attention that Pensacon has withdrawn their funding request. So I did want to make the council aware of that. I did get that email today.
Thank you. That's big. All right, so that was a $50,000 plug in there. Ronnie, was that in your comment in the form of a motion?
Yes. And I'll second it for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
For discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Well, that's what,
And as I look at the budgets here, side by side between what county's proposing and what we're proposing, it's pretty similar. There's a few sticking points, as we discussed the last time around. Some of these items, may or may not find 3 votes at the county, because there's the budgeting, the government budgeting part. The piece is you try and find the maximum utility for funding sources to save your general fund dollars. And so I know that there's consternation about what a nature center is. I know that there's disagreement. So for my part, I think there's a reasonable way to work forward, and I don't think anyone's going to get 100% of what they want. But I just wanted to point this out, in the spirit of congeniality on this board. I'm certainly going to move this forward, but once it gets to the county, it's going to get hashed out. One of the things that I've talked with Darren about, and also Tammy Thoreau out at Perdido, is there's a want out there to be back to where they were before. In 2015, there was a split. They really want some autonomy out there. They want a lot more control. So you're going to see that coming forward as well. We're going to want to pull their funding out separately. However we make that happen, that's what I'm going to move to do, because that's what they've expressed to me. They want more autonomy and control out there. So that's one thing that I think will change when it comes back to this board or when our board makes the vote. But I just wanted to make sure and get that all on the record. And I also want to point out, Stefan mentioned it, there was a pretty elaborate email that came to the county from our clerk. And of course, I was quoted in there from this last meeting, but I want to make sure I set the record straight. That quote was incorrect. It was not accurate. I don't know if you guys saw that email, but you know, what I said at the last meeting is what I've just kind of reiterated here. You know, we try and, number one, on that audit, there was no smoking gun. That's what I said at the last meeting. I'll say it again. And what I said was we didn't have to pay any money back, because that's a fact. We didn't. It got misquoted in this email, but just want to reiterate what was said. People can roll back the tape. But I stand by that. But we are, as a board, and I'm talking about the Board of County Commissioners, working with Stefan and the clerk and the attorney to make sure our ordinances are appropriate for our expenditures. And that's what we're going to be doing. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Could I say something?
Comments?
Yep. So I missed the workshop, and I see that Pensacon's withdrawn from the 50,000 that they asked for. I'm actually also on the grant committee for Visit Pensacola, and to me, it's a little bit of a concern when Pensacon or Mardi Gras, these are folks that come to Visit Pensacola grant committee for the last 5 years, and you know, we set that up so that people can be self-sustaining on their events after their 5 years, not so that after 5 years they can turn around and come to TDC or the BOCC, and then now, you know, in some cases even ask for a bigger piece of the pie. I think, in my mind, that confuses the whole purpose. And there's so many other events out there that are soon to be or will be coming up on their 5 years. And I think it sets a bad precedent moving forward. If they finish the 5 years and instead of being self-sustaining, they're now being told, or they think it's just easier to go to TDC or BOCC. In my mind, that was the whole reason why Visit Pensacola and the grant committee was started, was so that they can handle all that type of stuff, not so that you're there 5 years and then you turn around and come here. So I think, and I know it says in the minutes that the TDC approved or highly approved or highly recommended the $250,000 for Mardi Gras Pensacola. I just want to say, I don't agree with that. I think that's a large amount. I do know they only were even approved for $20,000. The last Visit Pensacola grant committee or grant approval process, they only got $20,000. So I think that's a big jump to go from $20,000 to $250,000. I see Pensacon dropped theirs, so that's fine. But you know, I just want to put that on the record that I don't think it's a good thing for people to start doing that, coming here and not being self-sustaining. Because next it's going to be Pensacola Interstate Fair and Winterfest, and it's just going to go on and on and on. And I don't think that's the purpose.
Thank you. Comments?
One other thing, Mr. Chairman. Stefan, can you answer this question too? On the OMB's proposed budget, there's nothing for the Santa Rosa Island Authority, but yet we have 250 in there. What is the rationale for that, or what's?
Hi, Commissioner. So at the time, some of these requests hadn't come in yet. So we basically, for all of our agency applications, we put everything that we had received. Some of these came in late. The chairman did speak about that at our last meeting. So what I have done, I have included those in the county's budget for these line items. So I have accommodated that, which isn't reflected on this. This was a
What is that 250? Lee Davis is here. What is that 250 for? Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
Please come to the podium.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Trolleys, wouldn't it? That was
Is it the fireworks display? Is that what?
I thought it was trolleys.
No,
No,
it is, hi, thank you, Mr.
Introduce
Chairman.
yourself.
That is for the beach trolley service. It's for the
Oh, okay.
service and
gotcha.
a
Yes,
small
ma'am.
piece of marketing that service.
That's right.
Yes.
We talked about that. Thank you. Yeah, so that's, okay.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Chairman.
So, and I have a a couple of comments and questions. First, to respond to your comment about the nature center and the disagreement, I think, at least for me, I'd be willing to ask the Attorney General for an opinion of what a nature center is. There's no definition in the statute. We've discussed that at the meeting before. And the only mention in any Florida statutes is in the Tourist Development Tax statute 125-0104 that even references a nature center. And the Attorney General has come out with several opinions that discuss the nature center and the use of tourist development tax within a nature center, and they identify a nature center in those opinions as a focal point, like a zoological center and or a boardwalk. And so to what the resolution, that proposed resolution a few months ago was to do was create essentially the entire county as a nature, designate the entire county as a nature center. Anything within the area of a public waterway, including Perdido Key, Pensacola Beach, and all inland waterways. So that pretty much creates the entire county, since we have inland waterways throughout the county all the way to the north end. And so to say that that is what the Attorney General has said is a focal point, I mean, that's a pretty big conflict. So if there's a question of what is and what is not a nature center, maybe we should ask the Attorney General for an opinion about that.
And that might be a way forward, Mr. Chairman, but I would say this, I doubt that there will be, I mean, of course, I speak only for one. I only speak for myself, not for my counterparts, but in reading the tea leaves and listening to folks during meetings, I just don't know that there'd be an appetite for that, because at the end of the day, the recommendation is going to come from this board, from this council, and then that board is going to make the final decision. But I'm certainly willing to bring that idea forward. I just don't know that there'd be an appetite for it, because if you parse it too much, I mean, okay, so could you say Pensacola Beach is our nature center? Would that be okay? But then what about Perdido Key? It's very similar.
Seems pretty general, not focal.
Yeah, so.
Is something at Pensacola Beach, like Casino Beach,
At
boardwalk,
Pensacola Beach,
or- Yeah, is that a focal point?
See, again, when the language is nebulous, folks, again, we get back to government budgeting 101, we're going to try and maximize what we can do with these tourist dollars to save our general fund budget. It's just stewardship of our general fund. But I get it, you know, there's a little bit of a disagreement. So I can bring that forward at the next meeting. We can discuss it, just trying to save a little bit of time. I mean, my suggestion, this board should put forward what they would like, the request, and then let us vote it up or down. In the meanwhile, you can walk the halls, right? I can't, but you can, and see what happens.
And I remind this board that our obligation, which we have fulfilled, is if we find that we believe there are any unauthorized expenditures of the tourist development tax, is to report it to the county commission and to the the Department of Revenue, which is what we did before. And one of the findings was that, finding number 2, that the county did not take any action related to the TDC's recommendation or reporting of what it believed to be unauthorized expenditures.
Stefan, can you step to the podium? I wasn't there at the auditor's debriefs. Did the auditor or did he not say, we solve this issue if we make a nature center out of the inland waterways and the beaches of the county? Did he not tell us that?
That was the comments that were provided at that briefing. As it relates to the questionable expenditures that have happened.
For marine resources, right?
Correct, and I think the purchase of certain vehicles that support the cleanup on the beach and some things like that.
So Mr. Chairman, we get mixed messages. When the state folks come in and they tell the budget director and the attorney and other staff member, I don't get in the weeds, I'm not there, but I'm relating what they told me. When they tell you that on one hand, and we try and put that into play, and then we run into someone, like you said, someone's got to answer the question. And I'm sure other counties have probably done this as well. And, we're going to run until we get tackled, essentially, because it's budgeting, saving that general fund. But I can bring it to the next board, and we'll just see what, or this board could move something forward, and we could see if it gets 3 votes.
Okay. And I would ask your attorney what is actually in the report, because that is the recommendation.
Sure.
They could say anything behind closed doors, but what they put in the report is their official statement.
Right.
And there's nothing in the official final report related to nature centers.
Right.
Anyway, all right, so the other item is, I'd like to address Tish's comments about the Visit Pensacola grant program and Pensacola specifically, and Mardi Gras Pensacola. Those are the two that you identified had gone through that process. The one thing that what I'd like to say about those is really more generally speaking to what's required of the unified budget. The unified budget, each member organization of the unified budget is obligated under the appropriation agreement to do a financial audit each year to show their finances with an independent audit. I can't speak for Visit Pensacola or Pensacola Sports, but ACE specifically requires that each one of their grant recipient organizations receives either a full financial audit or a review by an independent auditing firm. So we know exactly how the money is spent, how much money, how they're being spent, what the organization is doing financially, because these are public dollars and we should have higher standards versus a private dollar that's being spent. Obviously, private dollars, that's none of our business, but we are obligated to review those. And so I don't know that any of these other outside agencies have been audited independently. We've never received, at the TDC level, we've never received those documents. I mean, hell, we've never even received them from ACE, Visit Pensacola, or Pensacola Sports. I just know that ACE does it because I was on their board for a long time. So I don't know if that is something that we want to require for all outside agencies, to make that recommendation to the county commission to adopt related to appropriations, put it in their appropriation agreement. But there's not a single entity on here that's receiving proposed to receive less than $50,000, and a financial audit, depending on the complication of the business, it certainly is not, it should be covered by that appropriation. I mean, the ACE is close to $2 million operating budget, and I remember their audit only cost about $8,000 a year for a full audit. They're pretty simple in their program, and so some things like Visit Pensacola would be a whole lot more complicated, but it's certainly worth the appropriation. Smaller organizations that ACE was funding, they were giving out, a maximum of $50,000 grants, and their agencies were mostly getting either audits or independent reviews. Many of them had audits because they were also, well over $1 million budgets. And so I think it's a good play. I mean, I think it's a good recommendation so that we know that the money is being accounted for properly, it's being spent properly. Obviously, the clerk's office does her, whatever she calls the desk audit on these funds, and we get a copy of this expenditure report, but it's not showing in the report exactly how the funds are being spent. It's not showing their entire budget. And some of these, could be, I mean, I know Pensacon pulled theirs, but they're a for-profit business. And I know Summerfest is still, even though we said we weren't going to fund them last year, we didn't recommend funding them until they converted to a not-for-profit. They still have never converted to a not-for-profit. They haven't made a request this year, so there's zero in the budget, but we don't know how much. We put $50,000 into something and they make $75,000 in profit. We're just funding a for-profit business to make money when they could have done their program and to help tourism. I mean, it helps tourism. That's why we funded it. But, we just don't know what's going on with their budgets and their finances. And I think we should ask each agency to provide some independent review or audit of their finances.
That's reasonable.
Are you making that as an addendum to the motion, Mr. Chairman?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we have the motion on the floor. It's just part of the discussion. If anybody else has comment about that as it relates to
I certainly would have some
Proposed
appetite.
budget?
I would have some appetite for that. I mean, I think we've talked about that on this board for a long time, that we don't see anything on the other end of the recommendation, really. And I think that's part of what Jim has said multiple times. We're making these recommendations and we don't see anything after that. We don't know how the board votes, other than, if we read it in the TV or we read it in the paper and watch it on TV. And so we really don't know. This would at least give us an ability to do that. But I would caveat on the fact that it does create more work for these organizations. And to say that they're stretched is probably an understatement. A lot of these folks are doing this job because, and these are nonprofit jobs. They're doing it because they love Escambia County, love Pensacola, Florida in particular. And so now we've stretched this agency a little bit more. And I hope they bear with us. I mean, because at some point they're going to come back and say, hey, will you fund a position to do that? You know how it works. And
These
so
are
that would be
independent audits. These are
Yeah.
not internal
Oh, yeah.
audits.
Yeah, okay, well
So
then,
they hire
yeah.
an auditing firm.
Well, we could, yeah, fair enough.
If I could just present just a slightly different opinion. Look, I don't care if they're for-profit, I don't care if they're nonprofit. If they put heads in beds and they bring tax money
Yeah.
and revenue to this community,
Absolutely.
I just don't see the difference, right?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, even the for-profits get subsidized in one way or the other. They're getting subsidized, right? Even the big nonprofits that you hear about, they advertise on TV all day, every day.
Yeah.
They pay their people fortunes, but they're a nonprofit. So everyone gets subsidized. So, we want to split hairs over that. I just prefer to look at, what I'd like to see is after an event that we fund, let's get a financial report.
Yeah.
I know that Cadillac Banks brought one forward, and it was millions of dollars that was
Yeah.
brought in from all over the country. So I'm not going to get wrapped up around the axle on it. And I don't speak for my fellow board members.
Sure.
I don't think they will either. We want big events, like we're going to put money into the Pelican Drop. What a great thing to do. Do you think Mobile did the Moon Pie Drop with no money from the government? I guarantee they didn't. I guarantee it was. And guess what? It was a fantastic event because I went there because we didn't do anything in Pensacola. So I spent my money there, my hotel money, my dinner money, my drink money. So I don't care if they're for-profit or nonprofit. I want to put heads in beds. I want to bring people to Pensacola. I want them to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then maybe instead of an audit of their books, let's do an economic impact statement independent after, and what did it do? And if it didn't produce, they don't get any money.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe I'm the only one who looks at it.
No, I guess the bottom line is how many hotels are booked that weekend or that week or whatever. I certainly got some appetite for that, because my argument has been with Mardi Gras, back to Mardi Gras real quick, is that you can't find a hotel during Mardi Gras week. You cannot. I mean, no matter how, you got to know somebody besides Danny to get a hotel room. I mean, I know guys at Innisfree, look, you call Julian, can't get a room down there. I mean, what are you doing? And listen, I'm happy about it in Escambia County. I'm very proud of it. Thank you. I mean, I'm glad I can't get a room out there, but I got to go stay at Rusty's house just to go watch the parade. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
And we're so focused on advertising, and I know it's important. I know there's a lot of people that make money, a lot of money on advertising, but some of the best advertising you're going to get is when you throw a great event downtown, like Foo Foo Fest, or some of these other events that we do that don't cost a lot of money, and there's a great article written, and then it gets picked up nationwide, and you get earned media. Really, that's actually even more profound, because someone didn't just put a blurb in there about how great they are. It was written about, and it was reported. So, again, sometimes I think some of these things, when we microanalyze them and really micromanage them, let's just look at the outputs. Did they bring a ton of people, and did they spend money? Look at the Sun Belt. Every year it's getting better.
Yeah.
Let's keep putting money. Let's feed the things that work, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to have the Pelican Drop this year, and there's going to be people along the Gulf Coast deciding, do I go to New Orleans? Do I go to Mobile? Do I go to Pensacola? Right. For the first time in a couple of years, they're going to have an opportunity to have Pensacola back in the mix. And like I told you guys, I went to New Orleans last year to watch their thing drop, their Fleur-de-Lis drop. I'm going to stay home this year because we've got something this year, so there you go. And I'll get a hotel room if I can find one.
I will say, I do agree with Commissioner. For example, Pensacon came every year, and a lot of times when these grant committees, they would come in, and the grant application, it was like on a scale. So they would come in and ask for the 50,000, and because it was a point scale, they would not get to the 50,000. They'd get maybe 45,000, 40,000, and that was one of the events I would always be like, they deserve the whole 50,000, because countywide, not just downtown or not just the beach, everybody in the county feels the business when Pensacon happens. It's usually in February. It's a slow time of the year, and you know that Pensacon's coming, and that weekend you're selling out only because of Pensacon. Now, I will say, Mardi Gras does bring business, but I feel like it's more of a local event than it is an outdoor event. It brings people from the outside. It does bring some of the crews in, but we don't see the influx of business that Pensacon's on a slow weekend. They purposely pick it that way, and you can see. And I do agree, profit or not profit. If they're going to bring heads and beds, they deserve, And again, Pensacon, I hate that they withdrew from here, but I also don't agree with. Mardi Gras that was at 20,000, now they're at 250,000. That's a huge influx, in their budget. I think their overall budget last year was 175. That's with everything. And now they're asking for 250 just from this board. So where does their new budget? Are we the entire budget, or is there something extra?
No, and I think maybe during some of the stuff that you missed during the workshop was that this is not really about this year for them. This is about growing it long-term for them and really kind of giving them some legs to stand on, because truthfully, they've done it by themselves for so long, and we have benefited in Escambia County for so long, whether it was, 500 hotel rooms or 250 hotel rooms, how many ever. It's, again, not that. I mean, it's driving food, it's driving liquor sales. We know all those things. But I think it's about the long-term effect of that and how they move forward as an organization. And for me personally, I couldn't imagine us not doing this based on the fact that they've done it so long by themselves. And like you said, they went to visit, they got a couple of dollars. And in my opinion, I mean, I would have hoped that they could have grown it from there. They couldn't. So maybe they need a little bit of help, and I'm with helping them on that, because this, to see the history of Mardi Gras Inc. in Pensacola, I think is for me, just the growth of it and what it's done. And a couple of extra dollars, I think, would help them grow it even larger. And so what beds are not filled on the west side of Pensacola may be soon to be filled out there, in my opinion. And that's what we heard a little bit at the workshop.
I mean, to me, it's all about numbers. They have to produce room nights. To me, $250,000 is a huge amount of money. Just like Summerfest kind of bypasses everybody, and they get their own budget. They get their own ask. To me, it sets a precedent, because the next year you could have Pensacon, and next year you could have Winterfest, and next year you could have Songwriters Festival. And I mean, I think there's 10 applications that are put for this year's grant committee. At some point, they're all going to say, we want to grow legs and we need $250,000 a year. So we have to set something in stone and says, hey, 5 years you did what you could do, and now this is. If you're going to grow any larger, you got to figure out how to do it on your own. You had 5 years of doing it. To me, $250,000 is a lot of money, and for me personally, we're not in downtown Pensacola, and we're not on the beach. We don't see the heads and beds during Mardi Gras. We just don't. So it doesn't make sense for me.
I agree about the economic impact studies. ACE and Visit Pensacola and Pensacola Sports, the unified budget, is also required to do that as part of their appropriation, to provide that information quarterly and semi-annual reports and final reports to the county as part of their presentation. So I know Visit Pensacola does a lot of theirs year-round for a bunch of their different events and other things going on. ACE does it generally, but also specifically for Fufu Fest, and Pensacola Sports does a lot of their different programs too. So, I mean, at some point there has to be a measure, like you said, and I don't disagree about for-profit or not-for-profit. I just like to see if these are community events that and it's an obligation of the community to continue them, then it should be a community organization. When they're a for-profit organization that's privately owned by someone, and they're asking the public for public funds and demanding that it's a public, or stating it, taking the position it's a public event, that it's benefiting just the public, then it should be a public organization. And that's just my opinion. I mean, obviously that's not really what we do here, is mandate those things, but that's just my opinion. And I so I kind of stand by that, and I like to know that if it's a public organization using public dollars, they're the fiduciary of the dollars that we're allocating or recommending being allocated by the county commission, and we're the steward of watching over them. And so having audits gives us a good idea of how they're being spent.
Mr. Chairman, could we amend the motion then? So the motion was to push it through a bit, but let's amend that with the caveat that there's some reporting at the other end of this. However we state that now, I mean, yeah, that's going to be our recommendation moving forward. That's going to be my recommendation, and I had a second for discussion. I don't know if you want to move that to a vote now.
So that, the motion is yours.
Yeah.
So if you would like to amend it.
And I did. I feel like I just did, but I'll you know,
Will you
so
restate the motion?
yeah, let's
Amended.
Yeah, so the original motion was to move this budget through for approval from this board to the county commissioner on what we see here. And I'm going to amend that to, when they report next year, they will report number of heads and beds. I think that's a good starting point, unless we want to go with a full audit. I'll listen to that if we want to go to a full audit. With no other further questions, then I'm going to say let's just do heads and beds for this first year.
So when you say heads and beds, for clarification.
Yep.
Are you talking about an economic impact study?
Yeah.
Because that's not just heads and
Well,
beds.
yeah.
My second stands with the amendment.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion on the amended motion?
Just make sure she's got it. The economics. Go ahead. Cheryl.
I just have something totally off of the amended, but if we're in discussion, I need to ask it.
We're still in
Please.
discussion about the.
Please.
Okay. Commissioner, you mentioned that there's going to be, Perdido is going to be looking for dollars. Are they looking for a separate budget, or?
No, ma'am. I believe what they're going to try and do is what they used to do before, which is submit their budget directly to Visit Pensacola, and Visit Pensacola will make the allocation. I believe, isn't that the way it would? Stefan better clarify. However, they had it before. They had some autonomy. There's been some leadership changes out in Perdido Key, and some previous leadership decisions from the county were, well, look, I'm not gonna speculate, but based upon what I see, it seems like there was some decisions made that really were not in the best interest of what those folks are trying to do out there.
Sure.
To promote their beach and their area and their community. So we're going to try and put that back together. But that's, Stefan, is that the way they did it before?
So several years ago, they were a direct allocation from the board that was not part of the Visit Pensacola Unified Budget or anything like that. But during that time and that transition, the tourist portion of the Perdido Key Chamber was basically absorbed through the Visit Pensacola activities and what Visit Pensacola just does. So, but I believe what the commissioner is requesting is that the Perdido Key Chamber be treated, say for instance like ACE or like PSA or Visit Pensacola, rather they are their own separate entity but still under the unified budget.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Yes.
So I believe that is what the commissioner
Thank
was saying. Yes, sir.
I was looking at your email trying to.
Well, I just appreciate that we have a commissioner out there who is responsive to their needs.
Thank you. I'm trying. There's a lot of them. Let me tell you what. There's a lot of them.
Is there any further comment or discussion? If not,
I do have a
Yes,
question. So when we propose this budget to the Board of County Commissioners, how does the funding work on that end? When, let's say, Mardi Gras or Pensacon request funds, do they get funds up front, or is it they spend it, then they get reimbursed?
Stefan, do you want to?
It can be either way. So usually we've got a few agencies where we transfer a larger amount to, which would be Visit Pensacola. But normally, what we do is if they want to use it, maybe like a 10% upfront, something like that. Most of the time, what we see is they don't do that, and it's reimbursable. But it is the agency's choice. They can either do that little bit up front, or they can just do the reimbursement, which again, most of them just do the reimbursable.
any other question or comment? If not, I'll call for the vote. Actually, Danielle, since this is a budget, will you call the roll for the vote, please?
Yeah. Jeff Bogosh.
Yeah, I'm going to approve the recommendation.
James Reeves.
Approval.
Shirley Cronley.
Approved.
David Bear.
Approved.
Ronald Rivera.
I approve.
And Matish Patel.
Do not approve.
Motion passes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for that discussion. Next on the agenda are outside agency updates. We have with us today the National Naval Aviation Museum, Admiral Kozad. And there should be there's a handout from them that you all received. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Great. Kyle Kozan, I'm the president and CEO of the Naval Aviation Museum Foundation. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is kind of unusual turf for me because I'm not used to delivering good news. So Chairman, thanks for the opportunity.
Yes.
I think as most are aware, the Undersecretary of the Navy approved a waiver that would allow general public access on or about the 1st of May of last year. And so that terminated 1,258 days of non-visitation by the general public, something we've been working hard on for a while. What that means to us, and you had asked me to talk about impact to both the museum and also the Flight Academy. We've worked hard. We've worked with Ellis Bullock and Dickie Appleyard to advertise, to market, to get the word out there. And I'll say it's a successful campaign. If you compare our June numbers of this year, day for day, with June numbers of 2019, when the museum was open, we're running at about 75% of where we were in 2019. So it's a good start. And really what we have to overcome is this general perception, not only locally, because there are folks who live in our community who don't realize the museum's open again, but regionally and nationally. So we continue to press that. We're making good progress, and we're tracking towards probably 500,000 visitors that'll come. Just for example, yesterday, Air Show Practice Day, we had about 3,400 on the flight line and about 4,500 in the museum throughout the day. And we view that as a good sign, and we hopefully view that as a good partnership with the county TDC to bring people and hopefully get them to stay that extra day. What's new? We have worked hard over the past couple of years. We've got a couple new exhibits. We worked with the movie Devotion. We've got Corsair that was used on the set of that movie. It's turned into an exhibit that honors Jesse Brown and Tom Hudner, very popular for our new visitors. Our grand entrance, the Nimitz Flight Deck, has two huge digital components with CGI renderings of F-18s taking off and landing. Great reception there, and we're working hard to raise funds externally on a new exhibit that will honor Hanoi Hilton veterans next year, that will cut the ribbon on the 9th of April 2024. I would be remiss if I didn't say thanks and continue to say thanks to the community that supported us so richly, whether that was through a petition that gained, I think, nearly 20,000 signatures that helped influence Navy decision makers. And as a result, we're going to try to continue to do things for the local community. We've got our first visitor appreciation event this Saturday. We'll do 6 different raffles throughout the day worth about $100, and then the grand prize for the day will be a leather flight jacket that'll go to some lucky person. The following month, next month in July, we'll have something more focused toward children's activities in our education department. But, the one comment that continues to come up from folks who haven't been there for a while or have never been there was, it's better than I remembered, or it's better than I ever imagined. So we're pretty pleased with that, and certainly appreciative of the support that we've gotten from the community. I will say that, just as a data point, we talked about our Blue Angel cockpit experience and supporting that effort with $100,000. That's been on the road 4 times this year. We've got 4 more events locally that we'll support, and that draws about 500,000 impressions of people who attend air shows or other things. And I'll tell you, and I didn't tell Darren this earlier, but probably more popular than the cockpit itself is the truck that's wrapped with Visit Pensacola's logo, come to beach, or go to beach? Something about the beach? Way to beach. That's more popular with folks outside the local area than the cockpit itself. So we think that's been very successful. From a STEM outreach perspective, my focus since I took over at the foundation has been to expand our reach, specifically with a focus toward local. When I showed up, the National Flight Academy really had about a 2% local impact on our community. Since then, in the past 2.5 years, we've grown that to 10%. Our Flight Adventure Deck, which targets middle school students both during the school year with field trips and then summer camps, will reach 4,200 middle schoolers. Those are all local. That's a local component. It's a local reach. And finally, Starbase Pensacola, we just crested 1,460 students that have gone through that program. For perspective, all Title I enrollees in the community, and we've impacted 23 elementary schools. So, Kyle Kozad's goal, and it's on record, is to continue to expand those programs so that we can provide more scholars to at-risk and local kids, to be able to bring them through a continuum of programs that range from that fifth grade program at Starbase to the junior high program at the Flight Adventure Deck, and eventually sponsor some kids to come through our National Flight Academy. So with that, I'll pause for any questions and wrap that up with another thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Nope, congratulations, Admiral. Great
Thank you.
news. Great
Thank
news for
you.
the community. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, congratulations and thank you for your continued work and weathering the storm, exactly.
Glad to do it.
Thank you.
It's kind of nice to give a good news story.
It is, we like good news.
I'm going to stick around for a while.
All right, thank you so much. All right, next on the agenda is UWF Historic Trust. Mr. Overton.
Thank you all. Rob Overton, I think I know all of you. To add to the Admiral's great news, of course, my news is good, but it doesn't top the National Museum of Naval Aviation reopening. That's pretty amazing and important for us. We run the museums downtown, and we've been busy. I mean, good busy, and busier than we've ever been. He mentioned 2019. That was our high water mark. We brought in 180,000 visitors that year, and that's the most that we had ever done. Of course, COVID hit, fell to the bottom. Last year, we hit up to almost 170,000. Our fiscal year ends June 30th of this year. Our numbers through the end of April, we're at 194,000 people. I suspect we're going to hit close to 250,000 this year. We're not 500,000, but we're trying to catch up with you a little bit at a time. That's unique visitors coming down to our downtown, visiting the 9 acres that we manage, which are the 12 museums. You know, the Pensacola Museum of Art, Pensacola Museum of History, the Museum of Commerce, Museum of Industry, the Children's Museum, which has been really busy, and our historic house museums. So they're coming down, they're using these properties, they're visiting the museums, they're eating in the restaurants, they're spending the money, they're staying in hotels, both downtown and out on the beach. So we are definitely this economic engine downtown that's bringing people in specifically for us, not just for coming and being traditional museum visitors, but our museums are also venues for events. Who among you have not been to an event at the Museum of Commerce, or who have not been to a wedding at Old Christ Church? Or our more recent addition is Museum Plaza, the plaza where we've got the stage out. We just gotten a couple of awards. Civicon gave us an award for Best New Outdoor Space. We just got a Junior League award. We're not doing the events, but other groups in town are doing those events, and people are coming. It's rented out every weekend. We've got, on top of that, this coming weekend, the city's hosting their Juneteenth celebration at Museum Plaza with the Watson family reunion. This is the second year. Last year, a great event. They had probably 3,000 people come out for it on that Juneteenth. It's hot, but have good time. That's happening again. Other events are happening. We're using the Barclay House for one, so over this weekend. But those are the things that happen year-round. We're not one event. Much like the Naval Museum, we're here. We're here 365 days a year, 6 days a week. We do close one day. 6 days a week, bringing people in, sharing our local history and our culture and our art, both inside the museum and outside the museum. People love to come to Pensacola. They love to learn about our over 450 years of history. They like seeing my people in costume out in the historic village. They love to go and look at our local artwork, both at the cubes that we have out in Museum Plaza and inside the Art Museum. We couldn't do this if we weren't partners with you guys. We do receive some TDC funding. We help out with the local cemeteries with that part of that funding we receive, but the rest of that goes into going out and promoting visitors to come in. And so we get a total of about $200,000 a year, and we're going to be bringing in 200,000 visitors. So about $1 a person that we're doing, and then our reach is a little further. So I hope that that's some return on your investment that we all think is good news. We're just happy to be in this business, and if you can find me some more part-time help to hire, send them my way. It's a good problem to have.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Any comments or questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you for what you do. All right, next on the agenda is Chamber of Commerce, the July 4th fireworks. Todd Thompson, come on down. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, Todd Thompson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. Let me back up and give a little history on how we got involved and how we're here today. It's 51 weeks ago, I went and looked at my emails this morning that Dave Hoxing brokered a meeting with myself and some of the Sertoma folks, and the message was, Sertoma's done this for a number of years. We're kind of getting up there. We need somebody else to do this. So I said, this is an important event, 4th of July fireworks. It's a big event for our community. So we want to help keep this going and make sure that this is maintained in the future. So just wanted to say that to lay a little baseline on that. I've never done anything with fireworks before. This has been quite a learning experience and still learning, but can update you on where we are and what we're looking to do on July 4th. So we have been moving forward with securing the fireworks. We will be shooting them off from the Port of Pensacola this year on the east side, so the side that's closest to the bridge. We've got all of the sign off from the city, from the partners with the port, and happy to say we'll actually be able to increase our budget from, we spent $55,000 last year on fireworks. This year we'll be spending $64,000. We just signed the contracts last week. And the day itself is going to be pretty basic. Last year there was a stage set up with some musical acts. Having been down there with that last year, didn't see a lot of traction and a lot of foot traffic with that. So this being our first year, we decided let's just make sure we get the fireworks done correctly and get that done, and then we'll look at the full day moving forward and maybe add some entertainment and activities in the future. But we formed a partnership with the Pensacola Young Professionals. So we've had some marketing that's started just within the last week, some billboards, and you'll see some TV ads and some radio ads as well. But it's been a group effort. We're moving along. Like I said, we've got the fireworks secured. They're going to be good to go on July 4th, and we're looking forward to a great day. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Todd. Any comments or questions?
Actually have a question.
Yes, sir.
Todd, are you actually the one shooting these off? I would
Yeah,
pay a couple.
they said no, Todd. You can't have the lighter. No,
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Fair enough.
He's holding the punk to the left.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, well, we have a lot of great things going on. Thank you, all three of you, for your presentations today. Is there any other business from the TDC? There's not, then we'll go around and do some closing remarks. We'll start with you, Commissioner.
Just thank you for everyone coming out today, and I know we're another year of above average collections ahead of last year, so just thankful to the tourists who keep coming to our great community. I think a lot of the secret's out. They're finding out, and I'm happy we got that 5th cent. I know a lot of people are still unhappy about it, but it's an extra $3 million a year, and that adds up pretty quickly. And I will also point out that some of the counties around us, now that we finally went from 4 to 5 cents, they went from 5 to 6 cents. So anyway, I don't think we're going to have that fight right now, but sooner or later, there's money being left on the table. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves?
I think this may be a record meeting, time-wise.
Is that your closing statement? Thank you.
Just happy to be here.
Yes, thank you for being here. Ms. Conley?
Yes, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work in the activities and also in their, with the budgets that we do. Everybody's doing everything they can to put heads in beds and people in restaurants and so forth, and appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Rivera?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate having an opportunity to serve with you guys. Obviously, it's a very important topic to me, like it is everybody in this room. Budgeting is not an easy thing, like the commissioner said, and not everybody gets what they want, but hopefully everybody can get some of what they need. So thank you so much for everybody serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patel?
Just want to say thank you for everybody that's part of Visit Pensacola and ACE and Pensacola Sports and all the hard work everybody does to bring visitors to Pensacola. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just say thank you to the council here for the lively discussion on these matters. It's important to getting it right. So thank you all for your hard work. Thank you to the folks in the audience for your hard work with tourism and trying to improve the community and growing our tourism, which improves our overall community because tourists spend a lot of money when they're here. They support all of our businesses. They also are a huge contributor to our local option sales tax that goes into helping improve our infrastructure here and creates a much better quality of life. So thank you all for the hard work you do. And with that, I will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.